Hello, Steph. Good afternoon, evening. How are we? This Sunday
Good,
afternoon, we are here.
good,
Yeah.
good. Haven't got bolognese on my face yet, pun
Oh,
intended.
nice.
But
Yeah. You
yeah,
having
doing
bolognese
well.
tonight as well to celebrate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, maybe come Wednesday night
Mm.
at 10 p.m. or something like that. But yeah, doing well. London's sunny. I can see it beaming on your face.
It
So
is. Mate. I know. I
yeah.
might have to do my blinds actually.
But doing really well, man. How you been?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like you, enjoying the weather. We've had like another
Mm.
flux of hot weather here in the UK, so we've been very lucky. Sun is shining. Milan is shining. So, what are we actually talking about today,
What are
Steph?
we talking about
Because we've got
today?
a
What's
big, big old game on Wednesday, and
it's a
there's
big
some
one?
things happening.
Yeah. Like, look, we spoke last week and we spoke about the momentum of how we're ending the season, being really strong and results obviously do that a lot. The formation change, the players looking like once again they're enjoying football. And across the board, but it's not coming down to a reliance on the usual suspects like this season. It's been Reinders and Pulisic, and
Yeah, of
we're
course. Yeah.
seeing Jimenez back on the score sheet, brace against Bologna. Jovic obviously is like reinvented himself in a Milan shirt, and other players as well found their place in the side. The back three formation. Loftus-Cheek started against Bologna. Um, that was it. Sorry, what's his name? Alessandro. What's the Jimenez? That's the right wing back. Forgot his first name. Alex
Jimenez,
Jimenez.
Alex Jimenez, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his first name is.
It's Alex, it's just Alex.
Alex, okay. Yeah, even him, a bona fide starter at right wing
Mm.
back. Teo looking like he's a bit more in his mercurial form. So, like, I think like we're ending the season really well, and the question mark is obviously going into next season, cup final aside. We're also ending domestically with not a hope. I wouldn't say a hope for top four. I think that ship has sailed with too many
Mm,
dependencies across the
mm.
board. However, it's at least refreshing to see us not completely capitulate domestically and giving it a good go as well. Beating Bologna obviously at home, fantastic result. We're on some really obviously a winning streak in a way.
Another comeback, another couple of comebacks as well,
Another
which is
couple of
worth noting.
comebacks,
Yeah.
great character, but like something to build off for next season. And I guess what I like to talk about is specifically, it's easy to heckle a coach when nothing's working, and equally, it's looks like
Yeah.
it's working now from a performance perspective. So do we feel like it's not a question, do we feel like he's going to be here next season? Would you want Conceição to be here next season?
That's the
And I
question.
guess kind of
That's
like
the
let's weigh up the pros and cons if he does. That's the question I've got for you. What do you think about Conceição?
I mean, it is an unbelievable question because when you think about where we were at the start of the season to where we are now, the fact that Conceição was a manager that we were thinking of getting before Fonseca, alongside Lopetegui, we went with Fonseca, 6 months with him. We know how it went, and then we get the manager we thought we were going to have, or arguably should have had a fantastic start. New manager bounce, if you like. Really, if you think about how many games it lasted for, I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Then all the problems that happened, issues in the squad, which he's had to deal with, and that the team's had that it's been kind of unprecedented, especially the stuff about Teo that's been looming over, other controversies with the Curva in Calabria. You think about all that stuff, and then suddenly, in the very last drips of the season, literally, he's found this three at the back formation, this 3-4-3, and it's kind of working. And I think we need stability. But at the same time, what I don't want is the management to think they're vindicated and they feel good that they've made the right choice, even though they've stumbled into it again.
Mm.
Okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely get what you mean. We spoke a bit
Yeah.
about it last week, but okay. So a bit to work off there. I think like the formation change is one
Mm.
thing. I mean, are you entertained from what you're seeing on the pitch? Is my first question.
That's a great question again, because obviously the last sort of 3 or 4 games, other than the Coppa Italia semi-final, and yeah, really that's it. The games have meant very little. The league
Mm,
games, they really have.
mm,
So I haven't been watching with the same sort of like eagerness and like interest. But obviously, from watching them, I did watch the games. One of them I had
mm.
to actually watch on repeat, which I don't usually do. But we're not playing for anything, are we? Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
it was better. It was definitely better. I just don't like how weak we are at the back. That's my problem, Steph. I don't like how weak we are
Mm.
at the back. I
Okay.
didn't
So
mind the chance we
yeah.
were making. Fafana's in form. He's
Mm.
coming into his own. Like you said, Reiners and Pulisic all season. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is the although results are coming, you could also look at games like was it Genoa, to Venezia as well. Do we win by like 1 goal margins there? I know Genoa was 2-1 away from home, coming back from 1-0 down. I can't remember what the Venezia score was. I'm pretty sure we didn't. We'd obviously didn't. Oh, was it 2-0? It was 2-0. I think we finished the game quite late
Mm,
on against them, didn't we?
mm,
So results are one thing, convincing results are another. But I think the bit we have to take is within a grain of salt is with nothing to play for this season, to be able to pull something out of these players who have been through a roller coaster, probably of emotions as much as we us as fans have.
yeah,
I'll take a result because that's something to work off. Of course, I would love us to see us thump 4 goals past Genoa and Venezia, but and we did that for Venezia in the reverse fixture at the start of the season when hope was looking good and we had all things to play for. But with how we are this season, to kind of claw any sense of hope and any sense of passion out of these players when realistically there's only really one competition that they should really care about. There's one game left that they should care
yeah.
about, and that's
That's
going to
it.
be midweek against Bologna. When and they're still putting something on from on a pitch perspective. And like even on the weekend, Chukwueze comes off the bench. He's got nothing to play for. He probably thinks he's gonna be sold next season. But him, Jovic, Jimenez,
I'll tell you what, though,
um,
I agree
like
with that.
hmm,
But can I just say, sorry to interrupt, I just want to say something. I think Chukwueze is the funniest dribbler I've ever seen.
he's like looks like
He's a he's a daft dribbler, isn't he? Like,
he looks like a bit of a pigeon, when he
yeah. Well, I just had to say that because when as soon as you were
yeah.
mentioning Chukwueze come off the bench, I remembered his like
Mm.
in the box dribble where he
Yeah.
stuttered, managed to grab the ball again, started again, and then somehow
Oh.
made it look like he dribbled past them. It was bizarre.
Look, and I think you made a point on on the defenders and the personnel. Like, there's no
Mm,
doubt. Like, I think it. Looking at how I've never been a fan of a back three, but I think with our concerns of how the squad's been designed, and I don't think it's an overnight one transfer window fix. I don't think we're in a position to go back to a back four next season. And if we're going to really kick off the momentum, and I look at the squad and I go, to be honest, if we stick with this formation with the players specifically up front that we have, it's
yeah.
probably for the best that we stay with it. But we just need to obviously just like look at the centre midfielders, probably the wing backs and the centre backs as where we need to invest the most this summer. Specifically at like, getting some more centre back talent in. I would love us to sign someone like Kiwior. We
Mm.
need some
Oh,
wing back
cool.
depth. And probably the centre mids as well. We need to make some harsh decisions with letting go of players like Musa or potentially Loftus Cheek. What's the future of Warren Bondo, whatever his name is, Warren Bodo, whatever, I can't remember his fucking names. But like,
Bodo
what's their
Glimt, mate.
futures?
Warren
Because we're
Bodo
gonna
Glimt.
we, we're gonna need some depth beyond Reinders and Fofana.
Yeah, of course you will.
And
Yeah.
then I think like if I look at that and you go with all those things hopefully being addressed, does Conceição have enough to springboard himself off the tail end of this season? I do think a lot of it rides on the Coppa Italia final, and if we win it. And I think this is something that is going to be probably reality wise, guys, us as fans, or guys and girls, us as fans, need to be open to the fact that this might be the situation. We could be walking into next season with Conceição as our head coach because he's won us 2 trophies.
Yep.
And you cannot discredit that in the fashion he's done it with taking over a Milan side as
That is
fragile
awful.
as that has been awful. It's not Conceição's fault because we started the season as, how he took over us as a club and we loved it when he got announced as the coach because we all thought this was the coach we should have signed in the summer, to your point. And the fragility of the side at that
Mm,
time, despite doing quite well in the Champions League in the group stage up until that point, went across, halfway across the world and got 2 fantastic results against Juventus and Inter, comeback wins, which we all said at the time, yeah, you know what, we need a coach who just doesn't give a shit about the style of football and just gets us
mm.
results. And we got those results. And now, obviously we care a little about the style of football. And once again, all right, things have been abysmal from a domestic perspective and in the Champions League against those last couple of games in the group stage and then equally against Feyenoord. No excuses from that regard. And equally how we've just added to the capitulation domestically to not get a top four spot and what probably if
We
we
should now
restarted the
looking at
season,
the table. Yeah,
we
looking at the
should
table.
have. We
Yeah.
should have. Being was it 3 or 4 points off fourth place, and that that firefight for that last spot is It's a damn shame, and I really feel like, and we said this before in many of these pub chats before the January transfer market. If we addressed most of the issues specifically in midfield, we probably could have got that top four
Yeah,
spot. And
100%.
there's another universe where we do, but we are where we are. But if we there's that little cherry on top end of the season. If we win the Coppa Italia final, winning two trophies is still an achievement.
It is.
And if I look at Conceição, what does he bring to the table? He was the one that shifted the formation change. And it could easily be for us to sit here and say in hindsight, yeah, it made fucking sense anyway. But he still did it. And he's still gotten performances out of these players who most of them, well, a lot of them either weren't loving football, had nothing to play for. There were a lot of questions more than there were answers about the way of our squad build. And even to this day, he's still getting something out of Sammy Chukwueze. He's still getting something out of a low confidence Jimenez. He's still getting something out of Loftus Cheek. He's still something, even like Musa coming off the bench.
No, don't
And
stop.
I know, yeah, and don't get me wrong, like once again, change up in personnel from a squad perspective needs to happen this summer to improve. But I've seen coaches in the past do the best out of with players that they have at their disposal. And as we kind of get towards the tail end of this season, I'm seeing that a little bit more from Conceição, and that cannot be denied. And is it the most, beautiful of football be on display? No, it's not. But I feel like we have to humble ourselves as fans in a sense and kind of go, let's just get back to the raw fundamentals of football. And that's hard work, tenacity, working as a team of 11 players
Mm,
rather than individualism.
mm. I,
I'm not saying he's perfect, but we have to acknowledge some of the pros that he's brought in
I,
the recent weeks slash month.
Absolutely, and I think the biggest improvement I've seen is how he's handled the big players. I think he's genuinely won them over now. I think I look
Mm,
at how Teo's acting and Leao and Mike. I feel like okay, they're not happy because the season's not satisfied. They've got again in Teo's case, personal other things going on. It's been a difficult season. I feel like they're actually invested in the football at least, which you
mm,
can see, which is good. My biggest worry about Conceição is if it proves to kind of explode in our faces and we get to January and he's gone, for example, because
mm,
what happened in the middle, which is the bulk of what we have experienced on the Conceição, let's not forget, it's been worse and it's been better.
mm.
Um, he's going to be invested in because the squad needs investment, and then we're going to get a different coach who wants to play for it back again or something like that. I'm worried about the sort of the 6 months afterwards in a way if it doesn't work out because
Mm,
although
mm.
I think we start the season well, I'm sorry, ended the season really well if we keep this up and win the Coppa, which we have to do. Absolute asterisk there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I'm
the biggest
worried
con
about it.
for me is that if I cannot sit here and say he's a long-term coach, and that's for me an issue
And
because
that I agree. So why
mm,
employ him if that's the way you think? You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the point.
but then not to say it's a pro because it's not his pro, but who are we getting in the summer then? Who is that coach that's a long-term coach?
Well, that's the
Is
million
that
dollar question. I don't know who we could
is
realistically
there
get.
anyone that right now, as much as we don't like, some of us might not like Conceição, is there anyone that any of us as fans right now can say it's a no-brainer, we have to get him? Because last summer I thought that was Thiago Motta. I thought that was Conceição. And a lot of people that we think are the right answer, the reality is maybe they just aren't that. And I've said it many times before, I love Ancelotti because I'm a nostalgic fucker. But even is that the right answer? And it really is such a bizarre time of period in football where, like, some clubs are giving youthful coaches an opportunity. Some clubs are going, like kind of Klopp have done with Slot this season. Some clubs are keeping with longevity with the seasoned veteran coaches like Mourinho's
Gasperini.
or yeah, Gasperini and stuff like. So it's hard really for me to sit here and go like, who is the right coach for us? I
I
actually
mean,
believe
I'm
that.
on the we should have got Conte train. That's the train I'm on. Especially now
Well,
we're going free at the back. It annoys me that
mm,
we didn't get Conte, but
yeah, yes and no, man. Because I like Conte from a ruthless perspective, but I don't think he's got a plan fucking B. Like I don't, I see a coach there that is used to
it's
one.
about to win the league, Steph. Like I do
Yeah,
think
but
that's huge.
he's had no fucking Europe, man, this
I
season,
agree.
bruv.
I
And
agree. But
he's at
we
Inter.
haven't either.
He's at Inter. Give it to them on the fucking plate. If Inter had a bit more in the tank and a bit more youthful exuberance in their squad build, they ain't winning jack shit this season. And Conte is a great coach, and he's done really well for the fact he's lost Kvaratskhelia, and he's had to do it with like a lump of Lukaku up top, and he's done really well with McTominay. But like, trust me, you get that guy in, and you'll see it next season with Napoli. They ain't gonna have the squad depth, and if he doesn't get his funds, he'll cry about it and he'll fuck off. And I'm not saying Conte could be doing a lot better with us for this season than Fonseca and Conceição did, but I also don't look at him as he's not a long-term coach. He's a fucking mercenary. He'll be here for 2 years. The people in the squad will run out of gas and then they'll be gone and everyone will be pissed off. I don't know. But this is the point. I don't really have a definitive answer on who this person should be. And I just keep coming back to it. And I go like, I'm such a big fan of consistency within the feeling of how the
That's how we
players.
won under Pioli, isn't it? If you think about it, we weren't, it was that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, and then you add in the fact that we should hopefully be getting a sporting director in that can help us build a good squad.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, but that's also just as important as potentially hiring or firing or replacing Conceição. Um, I'm sitting here as unsure with my answer as with keeping him or not keeping him. But I'm as the season comes to its like finishing point, and if we get we can't deny the sense of joy if we win the cup against Bologna midweek, and if we don't, then you know what? Then yeah, it might teeter me towards not keeping him. But you have to go off momentum. It's the reason why Ten Hag kept his role at United last season because they won the cup.
True.
And you
That
have
is
to
very
go.
true.
Some clubs just go off momentum, and who's to say if that was the right call? And they sacked him a couple, before half the season. They brought in Matey Boy from Sporting Lisbon, but then you sit there and go, the project's fucked. It's not the coach, and I don't know, man. I just think a bit of like from a keeping the sense of momentum going, because unless we are 1000% sure on our next coach, and I'm not sure who that is, and that's the problem, then I'm worried about the players coming into training camp in the summer, or even when this coach gets hired, I don't even know. And it's going to be the same shit all over again, that we don't know the style of football we're going to play, the formation we're going to play, if the squad suits it, if the players are going to buy into it. More questions than answers. And this is what I think it ends the season with such an interesting talking point on, is it right to keep him or not? And I think the caveat is obviously if he wins a Coppa.
He has to win the Coppa. For me, there's no Conceição stay without the Coppa. It's
Agreed.
as simple as that.
Agreed.
So him winning the Coppa is a prerequisite. But I don't know if winning the Coppa and another 2 games after that. I think maybe 3, 2 or 3.
Yeah, we've got Roma and Monza.
Yeah, 2 more games. I don't know if I want to see enough, even if we slap them, because it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't, yeah.
That's the bit. It's like I feel so like ugh by saying that, but
the hard bit about this is he's not had the whole season either, and that's the thing. It kind of once again goes more into his favour because he was brought in as a short-term replacement to fix a very unsteady ship, and he's not done the best job at it, but he's not done a pathetic job at it.
I honestly, with the bad period that we had, I'm shocked he even survived. I'll be honest. If I look back at it and I think how bad we were and where we were languishing when we were really at our worst, which was about 3 games ago, I guess, and winning ages, firmly 10th, slightly closer to 11th. And I was just like, that is woeful. That is so bad. I don't know, man.
Let me paint it this way, because I don't think many of us as fans have actually looked at it in this regard. How he's going to probably end the season from a points perspective, yeah, is let's say like I don't know, 10 or so points worse off than how Pioli's done. If you tallied up like an average points tally over his 5 years, yeah, probably about 10 points less than that, yeah. And let's say if he had the whole season, he maybe could have improved that. But from a cup perspective, getting us to a Coppa Italia final, Pioli didn't do that. Pioli didn't get undefeated against Inter across the whole season.
No, but Pioli didn't. It took him a long time to get investment, other levels that Conceição had, in my view,
Mm.
and he got guaranteed Champions League for 2 seasons.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
So
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here in the sense of
I know,
and also Pioli went on the journey with that squad as well. He went on the journey
he did,
with the build and who he probably would have liked and disliked and wanted to keep, etc. Like when you're walking into a squad, it's sometimes not the easiest way to kind of recover, and especially if it's a squad that's suffering,
yeah,
it's not
absolutely,
easy to walk into it and go like, all right, and equally not having a whole season. I'm just trying to play like devil's advocate here. But look, I mean, look, if you're to turn around and we get to the summer and this is the thing, it comes back down to management and the sporting director. If we're concretely sure that we know exactly the style of football we want to play and the coach, and I would have thought we would have had this shit locked in, like even now, way before this
yeah.
moment. But the decisions,
That's what I'm worried about. Why they're waiting, mate. They're waiting to see what Conceição does, and that's what I don't like. It means they don't have a plan again. Because if
well,
they had a plan,
mm,
pivoted,
yeah,
and then okay, Conceição's had an uptake in form, and the team's doing well to a degree, and we might win a cup. They shouldn't then U-turn again because that's exactly what happened in the summer. They had
mm,
Lopetegui. Oh, the fans don't like it. We're swiveling. And I'm not saying Lopetegui would have been good. I'm talking about this decision making. It's
yeah,
awful. I don't understand it.
yeah. Look, I mean, a club with any sense of fucking brain
Mm,
make we if we- I'm trying to be optimistic. I feel like if we have decided to pivot from this coach, we have already locked in a coach for next
you
season.
think that?
Yeah,
Interesting.
if we have a brain,
Interesting.
because we know with a cup remaining, what good is it going to do to us if we announce to the papers that we've locked in, I
Yeah.
don't know, Gasperini for next season, whilst we still have
Mm,
players and a coach who are striving to get a cup, which could get us Europa League next season.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why indicatively harm your on the pitch performance, which could lead to financial implications because not getting into Europa League, season tickets, just the spiral off the way the season ends, everything, and player depletion, their transfer market value, etc., etc. Why harm all of that by just say announcing shit? You do more harm than good. Keep that shit up your sleeve. And then equally, but not saying equally, but I think to your point, if we have a coach in mind, like we did with Motta, and we're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, maybe let's just see how he ends the season. Like, I'm kind of like, you either fucking shit or get off the toilet, man. Like, and we either have that coach in mind and we dedicate, regardless if he wins the cup or not, we stick to that because that's the way you want to go. Or you're like, you know what, I've seen enough from Conte, I want to keep him, and you stick to that. You do not linger in between because then that's when we're going to be stuck with someone who was never the plan, and we get rid of Conceição, and we're the same shit situation we are in the summer because we have no continuity, and
Yeah.
that wasn't the coach we wanted decided to go with, and we can't back it from a sporting director perspective. That's
It.
my yeah.
I was just saying, if you're deciding between the options are Conceição or like a manager like Terzic comes in, someone like that we've been talking to or whatever, then yeah, I completely agree. Conceição is absolutely the right option to stick with him. My hope is that we have a proper reset of sorts, and honestly, even if we win the cup, unless it's something really crazy that happens, I would love for us to go out and either buy a manager for another club and be serious, or obviously the romantic thing that we've spoken about in previous pub chats, the Ancelotti or some. I know he's probably not, but something like that.
Mm.
That's what I want. Honestly, right now, that's what I'd rather. But at the same time, on the other hand, if it's a Terzic or whatever, then I appreciate Conceição is fine to stay on. It's just difficult because we don't know who we're going to buy or who's going to be sporting director. It's so tough, isn't it, Steph, to make this decision?
It's got to start from there, isn't it? It's got to be
Yeah,
that person's got to come in sooner rather than later, and we cannot be going into July. I mean, you like to think we wouldn't be going into July without a first team coach.
yeah,
That needs to really be done. In my mind, that needs to be done by the earliest days of June because that's when that person will be sitting down with the sporting director, the new sporting director, and going, "How do I want this team to look?"
yeah,
And assessing who's in the current squad, and way before the fucking 8th of July, and everyone rocks up for
yeah.
the training in Milanello for the first day. It should be like we'd be fucking hitting this with initiative. So yeah, look, I mean, it's an open question, and the question equally can pivot from day to day with the 3 lasting games, obviously the one important game, but there's obviously 2 games after that, which maybe is a good like sort of measuring stick as well. I'm not too sure. Maybe once again, if we win the Coppa and then we go to Rome and we beat them and we batter the shit out of Monza at San Siro last game of the season, and players like Leao and Jimenez and Reinders and Pulisic get some nice stats on their books to end the season, it might just change a narrative on. But equally, if we don't get results, then maybe it's a foregone conclusion. But it's not as at this very moment, it's not as assured as it was for me a month ago on Conceição's future, which I think is the question at hand here.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's it. I think before we kind of like conclude or kind of see where we will land with it, what do you think? I think a good question to ask is, what is a likelihood out of 10 that management stick with Conceição from this moment on? What do you think they're thinking right now?
I think they are 5 out of 10.
Interesting.
No, sorry. No, maybe 4 actually. I'll say 4 out of 10 for keeping him right now.
Interesting.
I think if we win the Coppa Italia final, I'm still going to be like 6 out of 10.
Interesting.
I think there's one thing I've not really spoken about, and I think is how Conceição presents himself to like the post or pre-match presses. He seems like a coach that has been very exhausted from this experience.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
And someone that I don't know if management can trust if shit goes down south again, if he's not going to be vocal about maybe his backing or the players. And I think us as fans have spotted that. So, I know Ollie and Bader don't quite like how he speaks. And when he came in, it was a breath of fresh air. And now it's kind of like he throws players under the bus.
Yeah.
So there's that side. I think if he was a bit more purely
gracious in a way. Yeah.
I keep comparing back to Pioli, but gracious, or if he was a bit more like Pioli in that regard. It's kind of sounds like we're just reverting back to having another Pioli here. Maybe that's the sad reality of the situation.
Pioli, guys.
Oh no, but it's the truth.
His namesake.
Yeah, I wanted him gone. Don't get me wrong. At the end of it, but like I think that's the bit where I'm not. I feel like I'm still like. It's a weird end to the season in that regard. Because
it's a bizarre end, yeah.
Because to your point, he probably should have been sacked 2 months ago, but he's still here. Being out the last couple of games.
And that's why, if he was asked me, I feel like he's gone over the hill in a way.
Is it? You mean that he's gone through that tough moment?
I do. I think that in a way he's sort of gained the respect of the management, and that's why I think if rightly or wrongly, because I still don't fully back him, I'll be honest. Conceição I'm talking about. I think they're more like a 5.5 right now, and then maybe a 7.5 if he wins.
Fair. No, fair.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But I think obviously I'll finish up with the usual stuff. But I like to give anyone give us your opinions. You feel like even as out of 10, you feel like Conceição will be here next season. And equally, if you don't think, would you like him to be? I guess that's another question. And if you don't, who do you feel like should be head coach of Milan next season?
Yeah, brilliant point to end it on. Yeah, we'd love to know in the comments. So many options. It's gonna be a crazy summer, isn't it, Steph? Like,
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot.
We were
talking about like the off season, like what we got to talk about. I was like, what we not got to talk about?
I know. I thought I've actually realised this. Yeah, it's definitely talking about
coach, transfer market.
It's like a new club. It's like building Rome again in the summer transfer window, So yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about.
You know what I'll do is because I'll get it up because I showed you before this call, but I'll get my little. Speaking of Portuguese, my little
Rui Costa, baby,
Rui Costa card that I got from Japan in a top loader. So there you go.
Well, Felix is going to turn into him, isn't he, for the last 3 games of the season?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
We still won't be buying him.
Yeah, absolutely not. Right.
Cool.
Pleasure as always, Steph. Guys, always plug the usuals. Bonus podcasts on Substack, Discord. What else am I missing? Articles, you know the drill.
Yeah. Newspapers.
Newspapers. Your emails, your newsletters.
Exactly.
Right. Catch you next time, Steph. Thanks, everyone.
Catch you next time, man. Been a pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye.